Hello and welcome back to Arsenal Analysed. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but today I bring you a Chelsea versus Arsenal match preview, a bubbly affair, a London derby. And we've had to wait a while because of the international break, which typically I would say are boring, but England have qualified for Euro 2024. So I am more than pleased. But you're not here to hear my opinions about that. You want to know the stats, the facts, the team news surrounding this fixture. And hey, who knows, it may even help you with your fantasy league teams as well. So if you are looking forward to this video, do go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here, but let's waste no more time at all and have a look at the form and head-to-head records between these two sides. Kicking off with the form of both the sides, with Chelsea on the left and Arsenal on the right. Very, very similar form in the sense that both have lost and drawn one each in their last 5 games. Arguably, you could say Chelsea come into this game in slightly better form, having won their last 3 games after starting the season in somewhat different form. And they're in a place in the league where, well, they're probably not used to. They've not conceded too many goals, but their biggest issue up until that Burnley game was scoring goals. Will that play a factor in this upcoming game at Stamford Bridge? Arsenal, on the other hand, having recently returned to the Champions League, winning their opening fixture in their group, they did lose at the hands of Lens in France. It was a very hostile atmosphere. And the last thing you want heading into a game against Manchester City is a loss. But Arsenal stood firm, both teams in that fixture with injuries. But Arsenal finally coming away with a win against Manchester City. It feels like forever since Arsenal had won against City. And you could argue that the international break came at a bad time because of that, but Arsenal did have some injuries, which we'll get into in a later part of this video. So some could say that it came at a good time, others a bad time. But let's have a look at the recent head-to-head between these two sides. Now, this is only the recent head-to-head. Arsenal just pipping Chelsea, and you can see on screen that there is a friendly in and amongst the last 5 games. But Arsenal definitely in the driving seat here, having won the majority of those fixtures. And something that makes even better reading for us Arsenal fans is the last 6 games away at Stamford Bridge. Arsenal have only lost 1 game, drawing 2, but have won the last 3. Can Arsenal make it 4 on the bounce at Stamford Bridge? And one thing that is going to have a major role in whether or not Arsenal can win this fixture yet again and remain unbeaten is the injury news. Who's fit, who's unavailable, who might make the bench. Not just for Arsenal, but also Chelsea. And the list is quite extensive, unfortunately, for Chelsea. So starting with the Arsenal injury news, Mikel Arteta, at the time of recording this video, has held his press conference. Pochettino hasn't just yet. But as you can see on screen, most of the players that were doubts before the international break were probably going to be 50-50s now. Arteta did say with the likes of Bukayo Saka, William Saliba and Leandro Trossard that they have all trained this week, and he would see how they train today before deciding on who gets the nod ahead of this fixture. He does have an idea of what that starting 11 might look like. But going back to what I said a little earlier on in this video, some would say that the international break came at a really good time for the likes of Bukayo Saka, Saliba, Trossard, even Martinelli, who had just returned to fitness. And unfortunately, as well as obviously, Jurrien Timber is still out for quite some time with that ACL. No one really expects him to feature in an Arsenal shirt until the back end of this season. But if we scroll down a little here, we can see this long list of players unavailable for Chelsea this weekend. I think some of these guys are definitely not going to feature. Some of those players will include, obviously, Fofana and Nkunku. Ben Chilwell is being assessed at the moment, but likelihood is he won't be back until December. The same with Lavia. Gusto is out after being sent off in a recent fixture in the Premier League. Bettinelli is also being assessed ahead of this fixture. Reece James was pictured in training. There were conflicting rumours, some saying he had to pull out and train individually. But more recently, it is said that he has joined in first team training. And unfortunately for us Arsenal fans, whilst it would be a massive boost for us if he didn't feature, it's going to have to wait until that team sheet is announced on the day. Cole Palmer is another one who's being assessed ahead of this fixture. Dazaze, Jackson, Broja, so many players looking to be assessed ahead of this fixture. But it feels like Chelsea have a list as long as your arm with players potentially out for this game. But they have an absolutely huge squad, and they have managed to win games recently, as we've already seen. Their most recent 3 games, they've managed to pick up 3 points on all 3 occasions, even with this huge injury issue that they're facing at the moment. Which brings us on to potential lineups for this fixture. Now, SofaScore have the squads down as this. Whether or not I predict a slightly different team for Arsenal, I can't comment on Chelsea. So if there are any Chelsea fans watching, please do let me know your thoughts down below. Who do you think will get the nod, especially from that list of players who are injured? But for Arsenal, I do half expect Bukayo Saka to get the nod on the right wing, even though he did pick up what looked like a hamstring injury before the international break. We've got Jorginho there in midfield, and he done one hell of a job against Manchester City. And whilst I'd be very happy and comfortable in him sitting in that role in a return at Stamford Bridge for him, I would much prefer to see a midfield trio of Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, and Martin Odegaard. We've only seen that once this season. That was in the Charity Shield, coincidentally also against Manchester City, a tough test. And it looked absolutely fantastic. So we Arsenal fans haven't been fortunate enough to see that enough this far this season. I do expect Gabriel Martinelli to start on the left and Jesus to start up front. But if, for example, Saka is unavailable, I would expect Jesus to start out on the right-hand side and maybe Nketiah or Havertz to start through the middle. In terms of the back 4 or back 5, including the goalkeeper, I don't really expect any changes here. There is an argument to suggest that maybe Tomiyasu comes in for Zinchenko just because of the role he would play defensively for the side. Zinchenko was exposed several times in that Champions League game away from home to Lens, but Zinchenko, you can't not play Zinchenko. The amount of control he has in midfield and the way that he partners up with either Declan Rice or Thomas Partey when he comes into that inverted role is absolutely invaluable. And with the goalkeeper as well, we've got David Raya, which I fully expect to get the nod. And anyone who's looked at the social media pages this week will have noticed that Aaron Ramsdale did an interview where he's not upset or kicking off as such, but he really wants to start playing more football, both for club and country. And he is worried that he may lose his place at the Euros next year if he doesn't start to feature for his club. So that is what we are looking at here in terms of a preview for Chelsea versus Arsenal. Score predictions, I don't always like to give them. I know I used to give them quite often in these videos, but you'll have to wait and see my Twitter post tomorrow afternoon, which will also include my predicted lineup. I will wait until probably tomorrow morning before I post both. So do follow me over on Twitter. If you have enjoyed today's video, do go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Get your comments in down below. What will the score be? Who is your predicted lineup for both Arsenal and Chelsea? And there's also going to be a link down below for you to join the free Arsenal Discord if you are interested in talking Arsenal more often throughout the week, whether that be games, match days, Arsenal news, you name it. But for now, I'm JC, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe and take care.